and welcome back to another episode of Loud and Opinionated. I am your host, Jake Williams. Had a little pop filter there, making some changes. Welcome to episode 18. What a weird start. Big thanks to the people that continue to listen to the show and continue to get excited about the future of the brand. Hashtag expand the brand in 2019. I cannot wait to get started, particularly on January. We're starting the year strong, right? Out of the gate. The first month of the year, we're launching a whole new podcast, and I'm pretty stoked about it. It's a podcast I used to do, which gives you no clues because I used to do podcasts all the time. I still do, but the joke was I'd start a podcast every week. So keep them coming because it's never going to change. I'm always going to come up with a new concept for a podcast. It's just going to happen. And not only for Loud and Opinionated, I'm also working on some other really cool projects. I can't mention them yet, but when I am able to talk about them, you will know about them. So enough of me blabbing. I'm going to jump right into it because I do enough housekeeping for you guys, and there's not a ton of extra stuff happening for Loud and Opinionated other than the stuff that's happening at the beginning of 2019. It's the holidays. Derek and I are very busy. We got a lot of stuff going on, so there's not a lot to announce housekeeping-wise. What you heard at the very top of the show is probably all that I'm going to have for housekeeping, so don't worry. Cool stuff is going to happen, and I cannot wait. So today's main topic, and I promise at one point I'll get back to splitting up topics. I kind of did it last week. But today's main topic, I'm only doing one, and it's about the most anticipated video games of 2019. I'm doing this because actually I'm going to try and do something I haven't done before where I'm going to release episodes back to back, and I'm going to do one on games and one on movies. So this one's going to be about games. And stay tuned because next week on Wednesday, the day after Christmas, we will start rolling out our best of 2018 stuff. And it's going to be some cool stuff. I want to say different and cool, but it's the same stuff you see on other sites. It's just, a collection of best of. It's a list. It's not my top 10 or my top 5 or anything like that. They're just things that I was really into in 2018. If everything works out the way I want to, Derek will do one as well, but who knows with his schedule. So yes, that's coming. So now I want to talk about 2019 before I talk about 2018. Doesn't make any sense. I don't care. Let's get into it. First up, I want to talk about Anthem. Now, Anthem is weird because so much of Anthem I think looks cool. I love the idea that it's essentially going to be BioWare's version of Destiny, but you can be Iron Man because of the javelins, as they call these suits. You fly around and you look like Iron Man. You look like the Hulkbuster armor specifically. I know it's different. Different classes have different sizes and things like that, but just from what I've seen, they all just kind of look like the Hulkbuster Iron Man armor, which is totally fine. Still looks really cool. I'm really excited about it. But what I'm puzzled by is we did see a good amount of it at E3 2017 and last year's E3. We saw a decent amount. We didn't see a whole bunch, but we saw enough to kind of grasp an idea. So clearly this is going to be the continued rhetoric of EA, where it's a game as a service. It's obviously all about working with a team and having that. There's no discouraging that that's actually what's going on there. So that doesn't surprise me, but I'm just surprised we don't know more. Just because, especially with a huge release like this, at the time of this recording, it's about 2 months out. It's Q1 2019, and other than what we've seen at E3, we really haven't seen a lot. There haven't, usually the hype train on a big property like this is full steam ahead. Everything is being thrown out the window. Now, granted, there's still a whole nother month of January, which is a little bit of a slower release schedule, so you're probably going to see more stuff come out for it then. But I'm still a little bit baffled that we haven't seen anything from EA since E3. And maybe that's a good thing. I'm always someone that talks about how I don't want to keep seeing everything from these games, and I like not seeing as much. And I love the idea of announcing it, 5 months it'll be out. I like that approach. It's just seems strange to me because that's usually not EA's MO or BioWare's MO. Usually with this kind of property, that's a new property which looks like a Destiny killer. You would imagine that they put everything into it and say, this isn't Destiny, this is different, this is why this deserves your dollars. This is why this particular game of service deserves your time more than, say, Fortnite or Destiny 2 or whatever. And yeah, that is to me very surprising. I'm also still very intrigued by it. I think it works both ways. The less I know, the better. So I'm not upset that I haven't seen anything else about it. The trick is if it's going to work solo, because from everything that I've seen, they're really pushing co-op play and they're really pushing hanging out with your friends, which again, because of the market, I understand that mentality. That's, what most people want to do. Get some friends, start your little fire squad or whatever you want to call it, your group of friends and go and play, which I imagine that's something that I could try and convince my friends to do and buy the game, whatever. But I don't know how well it would work solo. What if I wanted to just, oh Jesus, keep knocking my mic stand. What if I just wanted to go in, hop in a javelin, knock out a couple story missions by myself? Would that still be fun? So that's what I'm worried about. And that's the other, I'm just so conflicted on this game because BioWare has the reputation of making great single player games. So I'm worried because it's the Bethesda effect. All the stuff that happened with Fallout 76, I'm afraid might happen with Anthem. And I don't know. I'm kind of iffy about the whole game. I'm excited to see what it's going to look like. And maybe it's something that, after a couple months, maybe I'll get into once, it's really got a player base and the servers aren't getting killed. But I don't know, man. Anthem is one of the more intriguing games on this list because I think of all the games I'm going to talk about, I have an idea of what they're going to be and what I'm getting into. Anthem, I have no freaking idea. I mean, like I said, the closest thing I have is Destiny. So it's exciting, but it's scary, as is life. So moving on from that, I want to talk about Destiny 2. Now, this is another game that's tricky because I was not huge into the first Division game. The Division, I don't know. There was just something about it that couldn't hook me. And I tried. I spent I'd say 2 to 3 hours playing with friends. A friend, because I only have one other friend that would play with me. When it came on Game Pass at E3, I hopped in and tried to play it again. I played a little bit of the beta when it first came out. It just didn't really hook me, didn't really sink its claws into me, as they say. And I just kind of didn't think about it. I kind of put it away, didn't want to try it. So what I've seen at E3 looks really cool. And I think it's on the list because it's a game that all these games have gotten interest out of me. I could probably tell you of the list that I have, there's at least 3 that I know I'm going to play for sure, or 4 maybe, and the other 2, which are the first 2 that I'm talking about, are really ones I'm kind of on the fence about. I remember people telling me that you could totally play The Division 100% by yourself and get enjoyment out of it. I'm sure there's people that did that. I didn't. And this is what's weird to me, is the base of the story itself is really cool. This whole plague happens on Black Friday because it got on money, and people are handling money on Black Friday because it's the biggest shopping day ever and of the year. And then they all get sick, and that's a cool setup for a game. But man, oh man, I don't think Ubisoft executed much of a story. And I'm sure I'm going to get torched online because I'm sure there's people that have that. And that's fine that you like that game. But I think what I'm seeing with The Division 2 is more of the idea that I should have gone on with the Division 1, where there is a narrative and there's an overarching story and there's probably a lot to it. But this seems to be focused on just having fun. And I think I got in my own way with trying to be invested in the lore, invested in some characters, and instead of just playing it like I play Destiny, I don't give a crap about Destiny's lore. I just play it. So maybe that's on me and not Ubisoft. Maybe I should have got into the game that way. I don't know. The Division 2, regardless, looks really fun. And I'm going to try my hardest to get back into it. And I think the little annoyances that I had in the first game will get addressed in this game. And I think it's something that if I give it enough time and I dedicate some time to it, I think I'm really going to have fun. And I have at least one other person that I know will play with me, so I don't have to worry about if it's going to be fun by myself. I don't know, man. It's really hard for me to get invested in games like this because I don't know. Games as service always bug me because while they're good and there's a lot of good ones out there, the practice of the game itself, of the idea of a game as a service, is just so weird to me because I'm usually the guy who loves to play single player games, get the story that I have, play through it, and be done. That's it. Like it's a straightforward experience. It could be an open world game. I can play the game however I want, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's one line going straight ahead. I finish the story and I'm done with it. These games rely on me coming back and back and back. And it's going to be interesting because 2019 has a lot of those games and it's going to be a crowded market. I think the Division 2 is different enough that it will stand out. But it's looking like Anthem might be winning my affection more just because of the sweet javelins. That's really it. It's the Iron Man suits that I think Anthem has the edge over the Division 2. All right, so let's move on. Also, I took my jacket off. I was too hot. It's abnormally hot for December in Iowa. It really is. It's freaking me out. So next on the list of biggest games, I talked a lot about it during the Game Awards announcement. It's Far Cry New Dawn. It's everything that I said in that past video, that past podcast was it takes a story that I already really liked. It continues it. It does something a little bit different. It's not numbered, so I'm assuming it's a continuation of a main numbered game, but it's a spinoff. So I'm assuming that way they don't have to stay in the post-apocalypse because it's a crowded market that of post-apocalyptic open world games. Say that 5 times fast. From what I'm seeing, I'm not seeing a ton yet, and I am amazed that it's already less than 2 months away, and it was just announced. Brilliant on Ubisoft's part. Again, it goes back to what I was talking about with Anthem. So what I've seen of it does look interesting to me because I love that in the trailer, and I didn't talk about this surprisingly. I love how in that trailer they show off that the dog was in the car because everybody wanted Boomer to be riding a shotgun in the car, rightfully so. The only question is, I was talking to a friend about it. What do you do if they have something like Cheeseburger or the pig that they were showing, the Razorback? What are they gonna do? How are they gonna get in the car? Good Lord, I'm hitting this mic stand too much. What are they gonna do? Because I think it's easy to solve. Throw them in the back of the truck. You got the back there. I don't know how they're gonna work in a small car. This is the most I go on with Far Cry New Dawn. This is the most I know about this game is that the dog was in the car. That's all I know. That's it. Again, pretty excited. I love the idea of 2 villains. I wonder if it's going to do something that Far Cry 5 did, where there's different regions, and each region is a different boss that you have to take out and do it that way, and you can do it in any order, but still do it that way. That would be interesting. And then eventually the build-up, do you fight both of them? Do you fight one at a time? I don't know how they're going to work this story out. I'm hooked, man. That's definitely a game I'm going to pick up. Next up on the list, Crackdown 3. I still don't believe this game's coming in 2019. This is the weirdest game. It has been delay after delay after delay. I think a lot, and the sad thing is I think a lot of people have just checked out. And a lot of people don't care. And that sucks because Crackdown is such a fun game. I didn't really get my hands on Crackdown 2. But this is another classic scenario before I think Microsoft snatched up all these studios. This is just a situation where Xbox, this is a franchise they want to revive, but so much of it, they haven't done they showed it too quick. They pushed out a trailer for it, and they wanted to get people's attention to say, hey, Xbox still has their own IP. They still have these exclusives other than Halo and Gears. You know, this is what they're trying to show. I understand them doing that, but it's been delay after delay after delay, and I'm joking about it, but I really don't know if this game's going to come. I mean, it has to come out. Microsoft has to put this game out there. It cannot be another scale-bound situation. But why it's on my list of anticipated games, because I want to actually see that it exists in the marketplace, and I'm definitely going to play it thanks to Xbox Game Pass. And that's another issue. I think this game gets hurt in sales, not because of Game Pass. I think a lot of Xbox players have it because it's a great service, and you can play Xbox exclusive titles day one. But I think that hurts it because that's the only way I think people are going to play this game. I don't think a lot of people are going to buy it. Because of the delays, I can imagine all the pre-order cancel. You know, goodness gracious, cancels. I put in the pop filter and I keep smacking it, throwing my hands around too much. But I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work for them. I love that Terry Crews is attached to this game. I like that their marketing is to go after Terry Crews and bring him in. He's probably going to bring in more mainstream audience. I'm not saying he's a big deal, like he's a huge star or anything like that, but I think a lot of people know who he is and have seen him in other stuff that might attract him to the game. And I wonder how much of the single player story is going to focus on him, and how annoyed am I going to be by the end of it. Because I think Terry Crews is a funny guy. I love Terry Crews in anything he's in, and I'm worried that that hyped up, jacked up persona that he has in those Old Spice commercials and in this game, I don't know if I can handle that person barking at me for 10 to 20 hours. I'm going to get sick of it. It's going to be even worse if I play as that character, if I'm just spouting off these things. I'm probably going to get annoyed with it and just be like, okay, we get it. The joke is running thin. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's emotional depth to Crackdown 3 that I'm just not looking into. But from what I've seen, I'm afraid that that's going to have it going against it. And that would be another thing going against this game. I want it to be successful and I want it to work because I think Crackdown is a cool, different IP for Microsoft. Yes, it's a third-person shooter. Yes, it has a multiplayer focus, but it's still, Crackdown still has its own identity and its own style. And I also love the idea that you're these crazy cops. Where the tagline of the first game was "There is a war. It's a war on crime." Like, it's over the top. It's gratuitous, and I think it could work well in Microsoft's ecosystem. But I'm also very, very worried that it's been so long in between not only the original but the second game, and there's only seemed to be, until the XO 18 in Mexico City when they had that a couple months, or last month, until that, it wasn't good press for Crackdown 3. People weren't really hooked to it. I don't know. I'm still anticipating it. I still want to play it. I'm obviously talking about it, so it does carry some weight for me. I think if it doesn't work, Xbox is just you're going to see if it isn't already there, you're going to see all the focus on the new studios. Every last penny they're going to focus on all these new studios they picked up, because I mean, you're going to have to leave Crackdown in the dust, man. It sucks, but you're going to have to move on at some point. All right, and next up, Doom Eternal. I did this on my personal YouTube channel. I did a reacts, which I didn't realize that there was more to it. I thought the 7.5 minutes that I watched was the QuakeCon footage. No, there was an extra 10 minutes to it. Holy hell, this game is gonna be awesome. Doom 2016 blew my hair back. I was like, whoa, this is a lot better than I anticipated. I mean, I've never really been a huge, what would you call it? Doomhead? Doomer? Fans of Doom? Can't be that simple, can it? Anyway, I was never a huge Doom guy. Doom guys, that's what we call Doom fans. If that's not already, trademark. I was never big into it. I don't even think I really played Doom 2, 1 or 2 very much when it was on Xbox Live Arcade and all that stuff. I don't know, nothing really appealed to me. I didn't have an Xbox growing up, so I didn't play Doom 3, which is probably a good thing. I guess I dodged a bullet there. So I had no real attachment to it. It was just this game. It just rocks. It's just awesome. Like the gameplay footage is what sold me. Honestly, I didn't have any idea to play it. I didn't really care, and then I saw gameplay footage of it. I think it was E3 2015 when they showed it off, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's freaking awesome!" And yeah, I was hooked, and I played it, and of course the game is great, and I'm seeing more of what I loved so much about the reboot was it still has that charming old school style that still is blended in well enough that it works as a modern shooter. It still has what I've seen. It's frantic. It's all over the place. It adds more dynamic because now you got a friggin' grappling hook, which is so badass, and everything I've seen about it, it's all about it. It's unbelievable to me. The sheer beauty of the absolute manic controlled chaos that goes on in that game. So much is thrown at you, so much happens, but it's designed so well. Of course, I'm talking about the first Doom. I haven't played Doom Eternal, but chances are it's the same same people. It truly does overwhelm you, but at the same time give you enough confidence in your abilities and your character that it doesn't deter you from the moment. When you see a room full of demons, you're like, "Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's go." That's more of that. Oh my god, please shower me in it. It says 2019. We don't have a date yet. I imagine at E3 we'll finally get a date. But man, oh man, am I stoked to play Doom Eternal. And I knew there was going to be a sequel. But I was wondering, how do you make this better? How do you improve on this? And what I've seen, they've nailed it. And yeah, Doom Eternal is probably up there. Maybe it might be my most anticipated. And I think the appeal for me of Doom is not only the awesome gameplay, but what worked so well in the first game. There was a multiplayer, and there probably will be a multiplayer in Doom Eternal. They'll probably bring back the snap map stuff. But I didn't care. Because I had one focus, and that one focus was the single player, and that's all I did. And I played the single player. I got enjoyment out of it. I think it was 15 hours. And I hope the same happens for Doom Eternal. It's straightforward. It's that single player that I know and I love and I want. I'm friggin' stoked, man. I'm stoked. And lastly, I want to talk about Resident Evil 2, the remake, because I find it very interesting that this is not a remaster. This is built from the ground up for these consoles, and it looks awesome. I think the graphics look great, and it's so funny about who I am as a Resident Evil fan. I didn't jump on Resident Evil. I briefly played, and by briefly, I mean I let my brother play, and I was kind of scared because I was a child. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Briefly played that. My pizza's done. But yeah, so like I said, briefly Resident Evil Nemesis. Mostly my brother played it, and I just kind of watched. Played Resident Evil 4, the revolutionary Resident Evil 4. Played through that. Played Resident Evil 5 with my brother. Played it all the way through just co-op. I didn't bother with single player because everybody was saying that the single player sucks, and the only way to play this game was co-op. That's where I started to see the change. So I managed to only be really a part of the series where 4 was great, 5 was okay, but a little too action oriented, which always happens with these horror franchises. That's not the point of a horror game. You're not supposed to play with your friends because it kills the suspension. Whatever. Skip 6 because the minute these infected things that aren't really zombies, but they're kind of zombies, but now they can pick up guns, that's where I was like, okay, I am not. This is a full-blown action series now. I'm not bothering with it. Did not play Resident Evil 6. Then I finally picked up Resident Evil 7. Actually, I did. Yeah, some point in 2017. It wasn't last year. This year has been so long. I mean, it's the same as every other year, but it feels a little longer. So I picked that up, played that, loved it. Loved the approach, changing perspectives. The story was cool, and it was different. It was weird, and it definitely had it was new, but it also had that old Resident Evil feel. It still had the inventory. You still had the thing where you're constantly fighting one boss over and over and over again, and it definitely had that old school vibe. So then the remake of Resident Evil 2, it looks great. My buddy John Sparks won't shut up about it. He's probably the most hype of anybody I've ever met to play this game. I love the fact that it's right away out of the gate in January. Kind of gets out of the way of games like Anthem and The Division and Far Cry, where it's not right there against these open world multiplayer games. This very narrative focused game right there at the beginning of January. I'm pretty stoked. I've never played the game before, so this will be like playing a brand new game. It'll be going in fresh, blind. I've never really paid that much attention to Resident Evil lore, so this will be something completely new for me. And I'm pretty stoked. I think we're in a weird situation in gaming where the whole adage of everything that's old is new again, and you're seeing it more and more. You're seeing it with Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, and now you're seeing it with Medieval coming. You're seeing it with Resident Evil 2. It's an interesting approach. You would think we would try to innovate on something new, but, it's okay to have those nostalgia trips. And I'm probably going to pick up Spyro and Crash at some point. I don't know when. Definitely going to pick up Crash Team Racing because that'll be fun. But that should be on the list. Why is that not on the list, Jake? That's 2019. That's actually coming out soon. It's coming out in June. Pretty stoked for that. But Resident Evil 2 Remake will be fun for me just because it'll be a whole new experience. And I'm wondering if they're going to add things in that are different from Resident Evil 2, like, changes for returning fans, because I won't know the difference. It'll be exciting. I'm adding it now because I just mentioned it. I want to talk about it. Crash Team Racing, I'm pretty stoked about that. Mostly because I'm excited about the idea that we're going to have a kart racer on other consoles, because I feel like Nintendo's kind of just owned that market with Mario Kart. We need other kart racers, and I don't own a Switch, so I want to play a kart racer. Is that so much to ask? No, I'm glad. I'm really happy for Crash Bandicoot fans, because I kind of grew up with Crash Bandicoot, but it was never a huge part of my life as some of these other people. So I'm glad that he's kind of had this weird resurgence. Maybe out of all of this, we'll get a new game. I'm not holding my breath because it's still owned by Activision, and Activision only cares about Call of Duty. This is just something to do on the side. But it's pretty interesting. So those are my personal biggest games of 2019. Is your list the same as mine? I doubt it. I'm sure, because we're all different people and we had different tastes. It's very possible to have those things. But yes, what are your most anticipated games of 2019? Let me know. Comments down below. And if you like it, make sure to like it, subscribe, and all that other crap that I always tell people. Follow us on social media. On Twitter, @LoudandOpinionated, @LoudandOpinionatedPod on Instagram. You can get all the teases of what's coming in 2019. #expand the brand. You can also like our page on Facebook, Loud and Opinionated there. And if you want to write for our website, please send that to beloud@loudandopinionated.com. You can talk about anything that you want. Anything at all. We're not here to silence your opinion. If we don't agree, I'm probably not going to agree with you. Like, if you're going to tell me that Urban Meyer's a good guy, I'll post it. I won't like it, but I'll post it. I'm being completely honest with you. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of your day or night. Whoever this sees you, be loud. Sees you? Finds you. Wow. I keep thinking about this pizza. That's my problem. I'm distracted. There's a juicy pizza over there. That's all I'm thinking about, and it's distracting me. So be loud, be proud.